So, what made you an entrepreneur?
That's a multi-layer answer. So what made me an entrepreneur was, first thing was not wanting to be an employee anymore. You know, I was in telecommunications, which is basically selling phones and electronic products or whatever the case may be, for 5 years. I was a manager at Verizon, manager at Victra, and then I was a sales associate at the corporate Verizon, and then I worked at AT&T. And what I noticed was I was always good in sales, and I have a charismatic spirit, to where I know I can put that into my own brand and my own entity, and as long as I did it the right way and branded and marketed it the right way, it can eventually lead me to a successful business. Secondly was I was tired of school. Now, what I noticed is in school was I went to the University of Cincinnati. I went to Eastern Michigan University. I went to Owens Community College. I'm missing the place. I didn't go to UT. But I went to them type of those schools, man. And what I noticed was every time I went to the school, it was a different obstacle. So no, I wasn't running from the obstacles, but it was just funny that it was God's way of basically saying, like, dude, like, I'm giving you the steps and like the clues. Stop going to school. And those clues included me going to Eastern Michigan University for chemical engineering, knowing damn well I don't know anything about science or any of those things. Getting about, I think it was like 30 or 40 credits I got from there. Then I went to University of Cincinnati, lived a college lifestyle, getting drunk Thursday through Sunday, partying, buying an outfit every night, chasing girls, whatever the case may be. And then coming all out of that to go to school for 2.5, 3 years. Now I really only got 30 more credits out of that. So that's 60, it was 62 or 64. Then I go to Owens Community College. When I go to Owens Community College, and now I do get my associates, which is my associates in business administration. And now I'm on the path of like, okay, now I'm seeing that I'm liking this business thing. Let me see if I'm gonna keep going into it. Then I go into, after Owens Community College, I applied for a school in Florence, Kentucky. Now, when I apply for a school in Florence, Kentucky, what happens is I talk to the advisor, and the advisor basically gets my credits, you know, schedule my classes, all of that. And when she scheduled my classes, I'm thinking like, okay, at this point, when you went to those so many schools, I'm right now with the additional credits that I had, including like my they call them core credits. I was at 85, I think I was at 85 or 90 credits. And when I got there, since I transferred out of Ohio to Kentucky, my credits went from like 85 to 90 to like 32. So in the span of 4 years, I went to school when I was supposed to graduate within 2 to 3 semesters, but it turns out I'm right back to being a freshman, and I got another 3 or 4 years to go to school. No. So I talked to the advisor, and the advisor asked me one of the most pivotal questions of my life, and I think it changed my life. She was like, or I asked her, is it worth it? Now, she's a 25, 26-year-old woman. This is her first advising job. We done had plenty of conversations while I was moving to Kentucky and when I got to Kentucky. And she flat out told me, like, no. Like, basically what you want to do with your life, how your parents are both entrepreneurs. Everybody in your family got entrepreneurial spirit. No, like, this is not worth it. So you need to drop out. So when I dropped out, when I dropped out, I came back to Toledo. When I came back to Toledo, I ran into a guy named Jay Morrison, not in person, but virtually. Jay Morrison is a real estate guru, multi-millionaire business providing mogul, and he has a class called or course called RBC, which stands for his real estate business and credit. Long story short, from that, out of the 72 courses that he had, or classes that he had, I ventured into credit. Now, why I ventured into credit was I started to learn from the experiences that I had previously. So I'm learning that Chevy, I'm sorry, not the Chevy, but that Dodge Challenger I had, my payments were at $650 because my credit score wasn't good. Then I get into the car insurance that I had, which was skyrocket, and I learned because my credit was average. Then I learned about how the Jewish communities or the Chinese communities are going to get these businesses because not because they have so much money, but because they set their family up with great credit scores, and now they can take those great credit scores and go leverage the bank's money. Now they can take the bank's money, and now Ryan, Josh, and Tori are all brothers, and their father set them up so well with credit that they can go get this money wherever they want to go get it from, as long as they're bank compliant and their businesses look up to par to what they want it to be. And with doing that, that basically taught me going, okay, my dad has been financially putting his own money up for his business. My mom has financially been putting her own money up for business. Why wouldn't, with my mom and dad business being in business for so long, why wouldn't we go leverage the bank's money and scale our entire family businesses out and go, this is going to take us not just to a small business in Toledo, but maybe a franchise business out throughout the US or whatever the case may be. Then after learning all of that material, I went through all these credit journeys. Why wouldn't I master this business? It's a recession-proof business, so no matter what happens in the economy, I'm still going to thrive through this, because everyone's always going to need credit, whether it's for real estate, whether it's for getting them a car, trying to get into a house, whatever the case may be. I'm always going to, someone is always going to need credit. So with me doing that, it made me realize that I need to get into a recession-proof business. So no matter what happens, I am able to take my business to the next level, and I'm able to provide a legacy for all of my family. Now, to bring that all into one statement, what I learned is being an employee doesn't promise anything. So nothing against people who work for other jobs, but if they die today, their name is off that position, somebody else is going to fill that position within a certain time frame. Versus if they had their own business and they got a signed will and they have 2 or 3 kids that they can pass a business down to, now their kids are put into place to go, okay, now I don't have to worry about my mom and dad didn't leave me any insurance money. Now I don't have to go, I'm gonna go into this next, I'm gonna go fill out a GoFundMe for my mom because she just passed, and now that we don't have any insurance money, I can't provide or pay for anything. But since my mom and dad set me up with good credit and also set me up with a business entity and left a legacy behind for her children, now they can pass that down to their children and go from there. So an entrepreneur, why I became an entrepreneur is because an employee status and the employee lifestyle is not something that I've loved in the past. As many jobs as I worked, it's not necessarily the people. Well, actually, it's not the people at all. I loved all my jobs. I loved all the environments I was in, the people I worked with, and what they provided in my life, because I definitely learned something as well. But what I learned is you're making somebody else richer, and while doing that, you're throwing away the most valuable asset to your life, which is time, and you can't get that back. You can't get time back. I don't care how many hours you put into you know, whether it's a job or any type of task in front of you, you can't get that time back. So you better spend it preciously, because if you don't, you're gonna regret that shit when the process is said and done. So with that being said, being an entrepreneur has basically taught me that one, and an employee position is not promised to a specific name, versus an actual successful entrepreneur can always pass something and leave something for their last name. And when you get into that mindset of living for your last name, everything changes.